won't give you riding the bike, though, tough that. You're going to be mad. They're pretty opposite me a long time. Sorry, but that was very nice this Sammy, so whoever done them, job well done.
Collie Boulevard.
Oh, well, there you go. I'm going to tell you, those people who attended this school, beside me, and Ian Nipping, I think, was the last one came out here. But anyway, this was a grammar room. These were English rooms around here. Yeah, they were English rooms around the side. The gold was Brandon was out there. They've done a good job. They certainly have. You used to hear me from at the back there, year 11 English. Sit down, everybody, you're gone! Get on with it! And John Mungo come running out of his office. What was going on? You can't go on kids anymore. Anyway, him and I were standing outside discussing the yelling business. They were carrying on in the room, so I opened the door up and sit down! Anything else, John? He was the principal. But when I came in, when I was tennis school, we used to come up from the CBC across here. We were the year 10 up there. We came across to the Colorado. And Joseph James, and he's a lovely old man. But anyway, yeah, it was St. Edmunds, that's what it was. We went to St. Edmunds. And because St. Bridget was the primary school, but it was also the girls' school. They, we school up later on. Well, there you go. I have done so many walks to countries recently. I'm not bored of them, but I'm glad that some of you listen to me sometimes. The others just recently. And I thought to myself, what are these walk of the countries? What are they the main thing to achieve is to walk of the country. And it's to walk onto traditional land, the old land, and the old way of life that was what here. It's something that has come for us because of past policies, is that we allow ourselves to come forward now and to for you to be part of that walk of the country. You know when you welcome someone into your home, you say welcome, and this is how I live, this is where I live. Have a cup of tea, sit down. So the principle is the same of saying to you, walk, wandu, kaya nuna kori, walk, hello, and how are you going? Mine buja, mala buja, my land, our land. Yoa ko kori ni nanga jatiri, kari de tenements, kari de tenements. Come, sit down as we listen and see. You are going to talk in one and another. We sit down and talk. So we invite you into our home, and as you the trail going through the land. It's bringing something to Collie. Not bringing something, Collie. Collie has something to give. It's a beautiful bush, a lovely river. Wonderful people, except very much of one. And to the point where our town is not just relying on the the industries of mining and power. This is a new way of, how should I say, getting used to not having that anymore. Now we're going to try to find another way, and this is the new way. The trails when you go through the bush. When I walk through the bush, when I walk home, excuse me, I'm just getting warmed up. Forgive me because my legs are going, and as a result of, you know the worst thing you bought in this country, white people? Was sugar. Not good. Anyway, and why that bore you? Right? Oh, these things, no, look. I couldn't see through. Anyway, I often digress. Sugar makes it even more. What was I saying here? Sugar. Sugar. And so, yeah, diabetes. Worst thing for our people. You know the best thing you bought in this country? Matches and guns. It's winter time now, so you make this right up for the things to get out there. You know? And I haven't tried to spend my life, but I tell you what, a gun's the best thing next thing to it. I welcome to our home. And they're in my ear. So, hands up those are from Collie.
How far back do you
From Collie.
Born
and bred, yeah.
and live here?
Yeah.
Or just live here?
You know,
Not just live here, but
this is our home. And that's our backyard. So traditional welcome is from 60-odd thousand years.
Terribly sorry.
You've got a question in here, I tell you. Write it up. And so when you look at that backyard, those trails look through. We often, Andrew and I often sit down and we have a discussion. It's a better way of saying that about why do we need Aboriginal Warren when we leave tracks? What happens in the country? Because we're part of it, we are. Well, I can't say we are, but I am part of that. The bush, that land, and when something happens to it, I feel it. So, when I'm laying in my mother's womb, and you play music, I listen to it, I can hear that. When she moves, I can feel it. So, because that's our mother, that's our chook. That's mother. When we, in the past, when we died, they put us in a fetal position and put us back in the womb, back in the ground. Whenever we find skeletal remains now, old, we find them in the fetal position. Their hands are tucked up above the shoulder, up the chest, and their legs hold it up. Because they're going back to the womb, and that's how we believe. And then we put them in facing the sun, or facing the sunrise, the sunset. Or watching the day come and it goes. So, when you're out in the bush, you're riding your tricycles, so that's off the street. You absorb all this beauty, and you absorb all this wonderful culture that is now becoming more and more, because we weren't part of well, the countries. You wait to get started, aren't you? You were told. wind tells me, talks to me, and I feel it, because that's real. I listen to a little old voice. Yeah, but I'm calling you up at the end. I didn't generate you. What do you not, Collie? What do you? I don't know what it is. Go to our home and look after what is so dear to us all. Thank you again, Andrew, for inviting me to come and do the. I don't like to think of it as a walk to the country. I think it's a welcome to home. And to the Collie people that's heard me over and over again, they do get sick of me. But thank you very much for the opportunity and listening to you over on. And I got down here record time. Lucky there wasn't anyone else. I'm reminiscing. Oh my God. And those days when we here, we had the cane. I never got it. Yeah, we used to say, you're right. Thank you very much. And yes, I see you over there, what's his name there? T.H.E. Peter? I do recognise you there. So yes, I do. See some old friends I've never seen for years. So yeah. Eric, yes. Where's that cat? Enjoy it. You got to be good, yes.
So thank you very much, Joe, for providing a beautiful welcome to country. And just while we're on that, we have some housekeeping. Just if you can get out through the doors, the toilets are just there on the right. And then if you can get out through further doors, that's the way to try to escape in the case of emergency. So I don't want to take up too much time. Just to introduce Troy. We have Troy here, Troy Rarick, also Peter, the other side of the aisle, Peter Solly, and we have quite a few other people that are very knowledgeable about trails. One of them is Vladimir. He'll be answering some questions later. And of course Steve Bennett, wherever he is. Yep, up there. Now, I don't want to list everybody that knows all about trails. I don't want to list all of the dignitaries that we have here as well, because I know I'll forget some, and I just want to make everybody very welcome here. And so without further ado, we want to have Rod to then introduce Troy.
I'll be very quick. Nala Kadich Nunga Mort, Kayan Kadich Budja. I'd like to acknowledge the Aboriginal people as the traditional custodians of this land. So I'll be very quick. Both the guys who are going to talk to us tonight bring a huge amount of experience from all around the world and around Australia. We've got a project that's $10 million for Collie, to build Collie as a place for trails, a place for lots of other things too, but somewhere that people come to find out about awesome trails. That's a really great opportunity for Collie. These guys bring something a little different. We've heard before from people who bring about facts and figures and talk about, how you go about doing it and this sort of structure. I'd like to think, Joe, they bring a little bit of the sort of thing you're talking about. They bring the heart and the spirit to it as well. So I'd first like to invite Troy to come up and talk to us. Troy's from Fruita Colorado. He'll tell us about his town. It was a little busted up town that is now a trail town, built around mountain bike trails. And then Peter will talk to us as well after that. Thanks, Troy.
Hi. Hi. I'm Troy, and many of us have met. And you want me to not move?
No, you carry on.
Thank you for that. That was really beautiful. truth of what I'm here because of is I grew up in a place in western Colorado. It was also a beautiful place in my home. And I went off in life and I got into mountain biking and into the business of mountain biking and thought, what about this place, right? And I'll tell that story, but it's really about the place. And it's about getting people out of the land. So yeah, that's what it's all about. So what do I do to tell you to change that? Just snap my fingers. Okay. So that's me. I'm Troy. My company is called Over the Edge, and it started in a little tiny town, the town I just mentioned, called Fruita Colorado. And that town was an agricultural town, a stop on the railroad in the 1800s, then grew up into the, farming community that then fell on hard times because as it goes, agriculture gives way to Walmarts and Amazon.coms. And so in the late, mid-90s, somewhere in mid-70s, 80s, 90s, they adopted an oil refinery. It was somebody's grandiose idea to bring jobs into the community and give it a lifeblood, which probably worked economically for a while, but ended up an environmental disaster. And in the late 1989 or 90, they shut the thing down, spent a few years cleaning up the mess, and left Fruita Colorado in a bit of a, what do we do now? I don't know, some of you might identify with that. Seems like kind of fits. And so, 1994, here comes Troy, who had grown up in that area, graduated from high school in 1981. There was nothing to do but leave. So I left and went off in life and actually went to a Bible college and then worked with gang kids in a rehab program. And got into cycling, got into bikes, fell in love with bikes, got into a bike shop when my first child was on the way and I needed to get a real job. And I managed a bike shop in Denver, Colorado. Had a little success, got recruited to run a shop in Moab, Utah. That was the only destination in mountain biking at the time. And on my way over there, I stopped at home to visit my parents and had the idea of, why not this place, right? The whole area was a bit hurting. Fruita was literally bankrupt and everything was a bit on hold. And I thought, well, what an opportunity, right? See this, it's a great opportunity. Change is sometimes scary, but it's also a great opportunity. So in 1995, winter of 94, 95, I bought a building in Fruita, Colorado, started remodeling that building and started building trails north of town. Without permission of the government, without anybody really knowing, no one cared. It was just a place to dump trash and change the oil in your car. Like that's what they did out there. So we started building mountain bike trails, opened a bike shop, started making noise about this. And 25 years ago now, this is. And it took off, and now it's 180,000 visitors a year, brings in 50 million, 40-some million dollars to the area, become a major industry of the area of western Colorado. And I think a really, beautiful parallel story about how all this occurs, and that's the story I'm going to tell you. This is my business, Over the Edge. There's now an Over the Edge location in Fruita, Colorado, Sedona, Arizona, Melrose, South Australia, just a couple hours, that way? Am I pointing the right way? Yep. This homeland of ours. Hurricane, Utah, Zion National Park, South Lake Tahoe, California. And I work to help other communities understand this process, and I think it's a beautiful thing to do because it's a sustainable thing for the land, for a community. We've all been down roads of various things that come and go. They live for a while, they die, they leave their traces, whatever. A mountain bike trail is, a lot of people see a trail as impact, but I see a trail as bringing everyone together, that if we can tread on this one piece of land, we don't have to tread on all this adjacent pieces of land, and you can really sustainably use that surface to explore the land, and you can invite friends to do so, and as those friends come to do so, they tend to buy hotel rooms and meals in your town and bring other little vibrancies to the community, and that's what we're going to talk about tonight. So I started in Fruita, Colorado, as discussed, One of the early things that happened in that is 8 years into the project, Peter Solly here came to visit on a tour of mountain bike destinations in the US, and he stopped in. I think you actually tried to skip me.
No, I did. Try out.
And then people said, you need to go talk to Troy. And then he skipped me again. And they said, did you stop in Fruita to meet that crazy guy, Troy? And they said, and then he came back. And that started my relationship with Australia. So I spoke at a conference in Adelaide in 04, October of 2004. And that led to a relationship with Melrose, South Australia, which is a little community of 200 people and has now become a full-blown mountain bike destination in South Australia. And then later on I got to help Sedona, Arizona, where the mountain bikers refused to comply with some of the requests of their governments and leadership, and they built trails illegally and without permission, and they didn't want to even have this conversation. They kind of have a phrase in the US, they gave the government the finger, and they just said, we're just going to do what I want and what we want, and then the government said, fine, we're going to close the whole place. And I came in, and over milkshakes at a restaurant, I met the Forest Service recreation planner, and I said, how about we don't do this battle? How about we do something different and like create an awesome together and work together? And she said, I've worked in federal government for 29 years, and I've never had that offer before. And Sedona became the best marked, best planned, all legal trail system in the Southwest United States. So that's what I do. I got help in Derby, Tasmania. I don't know how many of you know about Derby, Tasmania. Most of you? Half of you? Some of you have been there. But Derby was a similar story, tin mining town, bit broke, maybe completely broke. And northern Tasmania tourism said, what can we do to reinvigorate some of these towns? And I got to go there and meet what was at the time quite a scattered array of people with a variety of interests and disagreements. And I think probably the thing I do most is knit people together, realize the same, that this is all of us, it's none of them, there's a us, and we can do this together. And I got to work there, and it's really a beautiful project because it's probably cutting edge in the world that they really listened and adopted everything they could learn and built a concerted mountain bike town to where you can go to that town and you don't need to drive a car around a lot. You kind of can stay there and get shuttled up and ride and really embrace the place. So I'm proud of what I get to do. I believe in key principles of life more than I do mountain biking. Mountain biking is merely a vehicle by which to go be on the land. And I think what's really important is that we understand this truth. There's bigger picture here. There's us as humanity. We're a bit scattered and disjointed right now in the world, and it's showing its effects on all of us and on the world we live in. So we really need to pull this together, right? Unity is our strength, and we've got to really get ourselves together as far as a human race and our interaction with our place and our nature and our land. And I really believe that's important. And in this wonderful place right here, a lot of people could say that there's bad times ahead, or there's an opportunity to really identify with your identity and to really mutually explore what is the beauty of this place. The place hasn't changed. It gets used for different things. Businesses come and go, but the place is still the place, and it's a beautiful place. And you really have a chance to identify, intentionally establish that identity, and share it with the world. Target specific experiences. What I'm going to talk about is mountain biking. It's not the one and only thing to do, but it's the thing that I know. And I'm going to really talk to you about not just blanketly saying, we got trails, who wants to come use them? But really deciding to target an audience that you understand, mountain bikers. They have really beautifully unique things that they want to do on the land, right? They're going to pedal this bike, and they tend to not pedal it that slow. They tend to, you saw the video, frolic and play in the woods, and it's kind of beautiful. And we're going to talk about that and targeting that audience. Sustainability is everything. It's the truth of consuming a resource. I like to think what's going on in the world today is two energies are what's at stake here. There's the energy of consumption. We all know that quite well. It's where our economy of this world is built. And it's the way we've acted for the last couple thousand years. It's showing its signs. There's another thing, bringing, sharing, mutually supporting, loving, building up. It's like that's what we're talking about, and I think you really can see that that's important now, not just in economy, but in environment, in humanity, in our relationships with each other. I encourage you all to start this process unified. You have a chance. We're all sitting in this room together, common interest, common point. You have a chance to do this beautifully together. When you know what you disagree or what potentially disagree or what's, you have opinions about stuff, what's good, what's bad, how, I love to say, how Becky voted in the last city council meeting, whatever. Like, you know all those things, but you have a chance to bridge that and come together. I really believe there's no disagreement, there's just misunderstandings. And if you go back to where you at last agreed, you can find common ground, communication, and a true win-win-win forward. That's sustainability. Community identity is so important. You are community is the word, community. It means sharing of our assets, sharing of our resources. That's all it means. Unitization, sharing that. That's what you got. You are a group, we are a we, not just Collie, not just West Australia, the frickin' world. We're a we, and we really can benefit from understanding that word, co-sharing our community. This project of mountain biking has a real potential to bring something here, and we'll get into that, of course, more. But yeah, understand that this is about place and people and building it common and beautiful together. Vibe and feel is what you're after. Making money gets a lot of talk, it's about dollars and it's about this. Fine, but it's really about a place. You guys live here, you love this place. This is your place. Like, you want to bring something here, not consume it, build, love it, love each other, have a sustainable community. Look what's happening here. I've been here, first came here 7 years ago. It's changing in beautiful ways. The town's got a movement, right? There's excitement, things are happening. It's beautiful. Stay with that. Encourage each other. Don't battle each other. The flow of business is the flow of all of this. There's only money because you see other people, you see what they do, you kind of understand their movements. What is a business? See, what do these people do? They drink a lot of coffee. There could be a coffee shop, right? They drink a lot of beer. There's bars. They sleep in beds. Oh, we could provide that. They hire bikes. We could do that, right? They break bikes. We could fix them. There's all these opportunities. Really, it's sustainable business. It's not taking. It's supporting an experience. And we will talk a lot about the big vision, getting into this, and seeing each other, and seeing the opportunities, seeing your user groups, and really building a common forward. You have such an opportunity here to change the world, starting with your hometown. This mountain biking, when I started 25 years ago, we built trails like this. We saw it in line in the desert, and we kicked them in, and we started riding them, and maybe moved stuff with a tool, but largely just, it was such a grassroots effort, and the sport was new, and then there was trails to ride, and people came. Those days are over. It's not that way anymore. It's a different thing now. Mountain biking is not only really specific, it's cat out of the bag. You see mountain biking in car commercials, and you see it everywhere. Like, people understand the sport has boomed, and there are 100 new destinations emerging every year around the world. There's, making up these numbers, but there's 20 towns in Australia that are working on this right now, right? Wouldn't you say? Like, all over. So it's not enough to just do something. It's really important, if you want to use this as an opportunity to love your place, love your community, use the land to get people, share the land with people who want to be out in it. That takes a real specific understanding of what you're trying to do. I had a couple of slides in here about how Derby was, I already mentioned that. They're kind of the glaring example of doing it right. I said Mount Bola pisses me off because Mount Bola is a ski area, mountain bike project there. But what they don't have is they wanted everybody to stay up at the ski area, so they haul everybody up top, and you start there and you do your rides, and then they shuttle you back up to the ski area because that's where their lodging is. And then you get up there and no pub, restaurants closed, nothing to do, and you're like, where's the rest of this experience, right? Like, it's not just mountain bike trails, it's a community. You guys have such a unique opportunity to do that differently. We've talked about this all the last several days. Keep people in this town. Start and end trails here. Bring them here. Don't make them drive their car. Keep them here. Let them work from Collie and work out from here and ride back, right? There's opportunities we'll talk more about, but like, yeah, keep them in your town. Whistler, I say, is a great example. The only reason I say that, it's such a great example. It's probably the hottest mountain bike destination in the world as far as economic, whatever, big. But it has a base lodge facility that's probably cost $1 billion to build. It's like, a lot of people look at Whistler and say, oh, Whistler's the example. And I'm like, yeah, if you got Microsoft behind you or something, right? Like, if you've got that kind of money, that's fine. But yeah, nobody has that kind of money to build that from scratch. You've got a town. You've got businesses here you want to support. People here interested in doing businesses that aren't here yet and maybe fit into this. Support each other. Build it from within. Don't pretend you're going to be Whistler. The beauty of Whistler is everyone comes back to Whistler. It's a base lodge of a ski area, so all the trails, as we just said, bring everybody back. When you finish riding, there's a restaurant, several bars, coffee shops, everything. So, over-tourism is a fact nowadays. That's my point of being specific to mountain bike. Understand your audience. We'll get more into that. There you go. There's an opportunity to do it awesome, and that's what we're here to talk about. So, can't just build a trail. We kind of covered this. It's not worth it now just to kick in a trail. Like, that used to work. It doesn't work anymore. There's a lot of trails. They're getting a lot of press. Have you guys heard of this internet thing? Yeah, a lot of videos showing off at a lot of locations. A lot of trails getting a lot of attention. Market's competitive. The game is high. You want to enter this at the top, right? You want to be in that game. There will be a lot of money wasted in this development. So as we're looking at this, understand that, why don't we just do it, start small and see what happens. If you start small and see what happens, you're going to see that you'll be one of those that got surpassed by other places that went after it more earnestly. So even though you may not see its potential fully now, get into this, understand this, because as you all join up and work together, that's where the potential comes from. The land's there. The trails are already, there's trails all around us, and there's so much more happening right now. Like, the opportunity for this to be awesome is right there. Take hold of it. So, yeah, you understand. So to do this, how do we enter awesome? You intentionally connect this place with an intentional experience of an intentionally targeted group of people. So mountain bikers, you see a lot of videos of people doing backflips across canyons and riding things that are death-defying and all that. And it's interesting to me how the industry loves to use that for marketing. Look at all of us. I'm not doing that. I ride pretty good. I do all right. But I'm not doing that. I'm not going to backflip across a canyon. I don't want to be. I'm not leaving here in a wheelchair. I'm gonna play this out. I want to be able to ride tomorrow. So there's an enthusiast mountain bike audience, and you can see the extreme, or you can, but that's not really the truth of who you're targeting, right? Like, you want to target the enthusiast that loves this sport and wants to do it again tomorrow, right? With that, you see that they're a different demographic of age, of income, of ability to stay here for more than 2 days and provide a better vibe to your community by the people that are here. So really targeting potential audience. Just simple thoughts. Beginners don't travel. I hear a lot of, we should do more beginner trails. Like, it's nice, and you got stuff for getting locals out riding. People love to say getting kids out riding. I love to say ride with your kids 3 times and see who the beginner is. You'll learn that lesson quick. Your kids will be like, come on, it's not that hard. Pros get paid to come here, so targeting that top tier. Daffy Davis does a triangle. I have it in a later slide, but it fits now to explain it. A triangle that says, of users. Like, at the bottom is everyone, anybody that's ever thrown a leg over a bike. At the top are the peak of the cream of the crop. Like, you gotta find that place in the middle of the enthusiast rider that loves to ride mountain bikes in beautiful land and be outside. You don't need the crazy dirt jump parks, and you don't need a bunch of trails that are beginner friendly, which to a mountain biker means boring and disinteresting, right? So you find your place in that. Weekends, like, as you target this audience and grow this thing, like, you'll see that if you see this enthusiast audience, and in Fruita, that age group is 35 to 55 years old is the main group of people that we get. And they tend to be a little freer in their time. They can stay more than a couple days. They're a little more able to eat at your restaurants rather than cook ramen noodles on the tailgate of a ute, right? They're a little better audience for you to have. They're fun to have around. They're low impact in your community. You might even like them. You might meet new people. They're respectful. They love place. Think of that, of who they are. So weekends are tough for a small business. What that means there is, if you ask somebody to invest in this, hey, wouldn't it be great if you opened a blank business? If that business only sees traffic 2 days a week, it's a hard business to run, just economically. Nobody rents a building for 2 days a week. So you see the economic equation there. So you understand these people you're after and start to see the picture of who you're seeking to come here. Racing and events, be careful. Races are focused on a race. People tend to come, like they'll drive up from Perth, do an event, drive home. I heard this event you guys just did, it's growing into a 2-day stage race. Good idea. Keep them here overnight. Make them be in the place, right? Don't let them run home. Keep them here. Ego trails hurt people. Yeah, it's cool for the ads, big backflips over canyons. It's not really your audience. Those people don't really travel to ride that much. They're a small group. It's not really who you're after, right? Ego trails hurt people. We don't want to hurt people. Local riding is cool and all. Everybody says build the pump track for the kids, what I just said about the kids, but it's really, those things are going to happen. You've already got bike parks, you've got trails developing from town. You want to target an audience. You want to target these trails that you're going to build for a group of people who are interested in seeing this happen. Your marketing will be pictures and videos of the riding. The video we just watched really was cool. Made me say, that was fun. I want to go ride there, right? So that's your imagery, that's your brand. As you get into this, your brand is your identity. We'll go more there, maybe now. So see your people. So that I kind of covered, but that's my slide referring to that pyramid of who your users are. You really, my idea of breaking up with Jeff. Jeff is judgment, ego, fear, and the future. Those things are lies that lead you down funny roads. Judgment is all the headbutting of who did what and why I don't agree with this and why I don't like them. This is, all the divisions we have come from judgments. Drop some of those and see this simple truth and come together in this. Ego, that's the trails of why we need trails of consequence. I don't have an example, but imagine that this is a mountain bike trail and there's a dirt jump, right? So I come into this jump and I jump over and land on another down ramp over here, right? I do a mountain bike jump. There's a pile of dirt here. I'm jumping over, whatever, right? So mountain bikers tend to think, okay, there's a jump, and this is a pile of dirt. Well, my ego would be way more satisfied if we dug out the middle of this so that no one can ride over it unless they do the jump like I do the jump, right? And if they come up short, I'd like to see them get hurt for that. Right? Mountain bikers don't even stop there. Then they want to fill the jump in with water and put Crocs in it. Because that's cooler. And maybe broken glass and some nails on the edges in case you just come up a little short because they don't like to see that either. It's like ego makes this argument of building trails of consequence. That's not what you want for your audience. If you're going to invite me to fly over an ocean and come here and come to this place and get to know this place and be a part of this experience, I don't want to give my money to you through hospital bills. That's not my interest. I like doing this every day and being able to do it again tomorrow. And so think of that. The ego of that isn't really what we're after. And it's worth challenging us all in that. What is the point of that? Hurting people so that we can say, well, I did it just fine. Oh, that's what you always hear too, right? Well, I did it just fine. Well, good for you. I now have a broken collarbone. Yeah, so break up with those ideas. See this idea of trails that draw people forward. Many of us that know trails in this room are big fans of Daffod Davis. He built trails in Cody Brennan, Wales was his start, and saw this formula of allowing an easy ramp for one person to go down. He built stairs over there in case the hikers, so there's a ramp for the riders to go down. There's stairs for people if they need to walk downstairs. And then you also notice that it had a little rise there before the down, so that's really good for water drainage, right? It keeps the water from running down your trail. Also served as a little lip, so you could roll down across the creek, or you could jump down into the creek. Or then you notice that he built up on the other side here just a little, just to keep the water running in the creek and not down your trail. But if you went a little faster, you could jump from that thing to this other little thing and clear the whole lot. And then, as I first rode there, you do that, and you come over another little rise here, and you realize, wait a second, if I carried a whole bunch of speed from back here, I could jump to that whole thing right there. And the guy won all our hearts because he thought of all of this and built it into the trail. Nobody ever needed to get hurt. Most people didn't even see that, right? But the more it's in your mind as a rider that you like to do these things, then you would start to see these things. And they were all thought of before and built into the trail. Demand that of your trail builders. Really creative, really beautiful. Think of everyone trail design. Insist on it. So draw your user forward. We all have heard probably of the ski rating scale that they use in mountain bike now. Green circle, blue square, black diamond, double black diamond. Let's shift out of that scale for a minute and see it in the eyes of what I'm saying. Like green trail. It's trail for somebody that's not ready for rocks yet, right? Like so, that trail, you can ride it. If I say to somebody that doesn't ride, like, trust me, come on, let's go for a ride. Like, I want to take them on a trail that I didn't lie to them saying, trust me, that I'm actually right. They can come with me, and we can be okay, right? We can get through this, and you can have an experience that isn't scary, right? That's a good start. Then they're, all right, I'm ready for the rocks. I'm going to try some rocks now. I'm going to ride through some rocks. Like, this is your next level, right? We're going to introduce you to some rocks, a little more scary, steeper down things, a little challenge you a little bit. Still without consequential outcomes. Like, we're going to challenge you and encourage you to have success. We're going to bring you into the sport. Then you're into, I like this rocky stuff. It's fun. It's challenging. I like being scared for a second and getting through it okay, right? And now I'm a mountain biker. I'm all into this. So then you go to black trails, and you got rocks that are intentionally in there. Hard things that are in there. Still designed to be successful, not designed to get you eaten by a croc, right? They're really to encourage you forward. And then you may go to trails where you're mandatorily off the ground. That's a double black diamond in my mind. That you might have to be wheels off the earth. That's, that maybe you're ready for that, maybe you're not. But one thing you want to know is that whoever built that trail planned for you to land that thing that they forced you to be off the ground for, right? That they didn't leave you hanging. They didn't put you into a situation of injurious. That you can have rides of all varying. Like I said, trail designers can be super creative and include these experiences all through it, but it never needs to be against your people. If you're going to invite friends over, you're not inviting them to hurt them. You're inviting them to entertain them through this experience of challenging yourself. So understand that. Trail center's ripple effect. It's not Collie versus anywhere else. It's not Collie or Dwelling Up or Perth or Marg. It's a ripple effect thing. More people live in Perth than live out here. People that fly in, probably going to fly in Perth. The ripple effect means a good place for trails of introductory proportion, bike parks and things for people just wanting to try mountain biking. Yeah, have those near your populace. It's important, right? Give them a chance to do this. Then they get into the sport. Now they're willing to travel an hour. They're willing to drive out to the next place. So that's where, dwelling up is the next step to get out. Then I'm into this. I'm a mountain biker, right? Like I'm going to ripple out again and come to this place, Collie, that has a lot to offer and a lot of trails and a lot of options, right? It's your ripple effect. What it does, if you see yourselves as a team, keeps people in your region for nights upon nights upon nights. And opportunities to return and reasons to come back, which it adds to this economic value of extending stay, keeping a long time. So connect to each other, don't battle each other. That little idea of rippling out and having big destinations and little destinations and local offerings, it's all a team effort. It's mountain biking, pyramid. So I drew this graph, not very fancy, not very digital, but I drew it on a plane. I think we talked about it a lot, but here's the point. You've got your skills required, jumping off cliffs, doing super hard stuff, right? That's here. And then it goes down, kind of like my trail description, you know, to like, I like jumping. So that's cool, I'm good with that. I'm not gonna break my neck, but I'm good with this. Okay, maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm more of working in the rocks and kind of just getting into that. You know, and it trickles down that way. Then you parallel that with your people, the audience. Who are they? 19-year-old, 22-year-old kids, right? That's a group. But like I said, they eat ramen noodles or camp out on tailgating you. Then you got some people that are, you know, like a little more adult, employed. Maybe they have jobs. And they come here and they're enthusiast mountain bikers and they come here and spend a little more money, right? So you mingle and you start to see your people, mingle them together. And then you look at this effect of what they're gonna do in my town. Like come in for a super downhill competition that if you miss this jump you die. You'll get a few people, they'll come and leave, and they're not gonna spend a lot of money here. It tends to be young audience of all males is what it ends up being. So if you see this graph of the movements of your people, who are your people, what kind of trails you're building, you'll see yourselves in here, right? Like what you're trying to do and build a picture for a certain group of people, not just mountain bike trails. They're not just trails. They're the target that will make people want to come here and make them want to come back. So see that? I think you all get that. I've hammered on that point enough. So you've got the skill level, you've got this idea of who's coming, what they're doing. When the trails are getting built, I think it's really essential that you keep control maybe isn't the word, but you're painting a picture. If you see what I'm saying, I really feel like you all do. Keep it there. I see a lot of times like there's money here. You're gonna get people here that are only here for the money. They want the money now, right? There's X million dollars and I want a piece of it. Whatever. That's not a partner in this project necessarily. We want people that understand what we're trying to do. You want contracts of trail builders awarded to people that build trails that resonate with this audience, with this group of people. I met this gentleman in the back here because I rode his trails first, and I was like, that guy gets it. That guy builds a trail that I understand. Like we see eye to eye here, right? Like that, you want that. Like, make this product a Collie mountain bike experience. You guys together define what that is. Don't let some trail contractor vary that. Don't allow that. Control that. I don't know how exactly. A lot of communities now are employing a trails person, right? Like you almost need a voice that's the manager of this project that's going to go out there and say, wait, no, this isn't what we had this conversation, right? We sat here with Troy and we talked about this and we understand who we're targeting, the experience we're after, the way it feels. We're not building trails to hurt people. You don't come here and bulldoze in the ground something you wanted to build. You're here working for us. Build what we're trying to do, right? So keep it there. Make sure it stays there. It's very important. I hit all these points, but like, yeah, you don't want to hurt people. Beginners don't really travel. If you're not into a sport, why would you travel to do it, right? Like people that are beginners come in and go on, and you've got that all encompassed in this trail mapping idea, you know, where you've got things for everyone. You're bringing them along. Budding enthusiasts travel, and they want that experience. They don't just want to be bored. There's a product 10 years ago that all the rage was flow trails. Usually machine-built trails at ski areas, boring as, all the same. People say you had to look up to know where you were because you could have been riding a trail at Whistler, you could have been riding a trail at anywhere. You didn't even know the difference. They kind of built them all the same. And it was like, that's not following the land, that's not loving the place. Like a real trail comes out of the earth and you partner with the ground and make an experience. Digging with a bulldozer, making dirt jumps is really rather boring in my eyes. So, yeah, anyway, there you go. I'm an old guy. I like riding fast. I have some trails in my memory banks that have made me fall in love with them. The final downhill section of Mount Bola, riding at Derby. I don't know, there's a lot of great places I can name. You know, it's like really there's places that trail builders that just nailed it. And you ride these trails and you're just like, oh yeah. Black Canyon Trail, Arizona. Yeah, so span, this is the other line of our graph. Won't belabor this too much, but remember, pros get paid to show up, right? See this picture. I think you all see this, and I don't have to beat on this, right? You're targeting an audience. See those people who you're after. You're understanding the equation of what is going to build a sustainable forward future for Collie through mountain biking. Target those people. Do it in your ads. Do it in your messages. Keep it consistent. Represent this in your brand. It's very important that you identify the brand that is Collie. It's not just build it and they will come. It's build it for a specific audience. Build it accurately for the experience that they're desiring and seeking. Then find the channels that communicate with that audience. Identify what is Collie mountain biking. What does it mean to us? What is the magic of this place and where does it meet with a mountain bike tire, right? Find that, work that out. That's going to be a branding exercise that's important and more than just a minor effort. That's a big effort. And getting that word out to the mountain bike industry through channels that reach that audience that really convey what is magic about this place. That will cause people to come. And if they come and have that experience, they're going to share it, right? It's a world today where people can slander you around the world in an instant. They can heckle their friends as to, you should have come on this trip because you won't believe what's going on in WA, right? You want that. That's your brand. So, yeah, these are my little list of questions I wrote on the airplane. But, like, you know, you've got these options, right? People do drink coffee all day. They don't ride all day. They ride for 4, 5, maybe 6 hours. Then they spend the rest of the day walking around town looking for things to purchase or eat lunch and buy a beer. And maybe they go ride again. Maybe, who knows? But, like, see this whole experience. Keep them moving around your town. They dine out, right? They may get a massage. I was teasing earlier. I said, I want a massage, but not from a place with a pink open sign and bars on the door. Like, I want a different massage, like one from somebody that understands I flew here on an airplane and then rode for 6 hours. That kind of a massage. There's all these business opportunities that are in here that you can identify and fill these empty storefronts that are sitting here with businesses that are relevant to this audience and sustainable to your economy. So, yeah, everybody loves to do this. This audience is a beautiful group of people that will definitely travel. I can attest to that. They're fiendish in how they are willing to travel. And this audience, you can shift that, is often like, they're not broke. They buy $10,000 bikes like all day long, it seems. And they travel. Every time they hear of a mountain bike destination, they go there. I cannot believe how many people I've already met. Derby's 3 years old as far as a project. And almost everybody I know has been there to ride. Like, they just know. And they buy a ticket and they go. Everybody's been to New Zealand. Everybody's been to Whistler. They just go. So enter that fray, right? Do it wisely and you will get them here. So that's it. Know your people. Understand Aussie habits are different than world traveler habits, right? So the more you're going to reach out to other people, realize that a mountain biker wakes up in the morning, maybe not at 6 a.m., maybe, but maybe they're on vacation. Maybe they hung out at the pub the night before. Maybe they sleep in a little bit. They get up, they go to eat breakfast, and breakfast ended at 9. Whatever. All right, so they get coffee, and then they go ride. But they started at 9, so then they come back, and now it's 3 in the afternoon. I travel around Australia a lot. Lunch was between noon and 2, and now you're out of luck. Right? Like, see, the movements are different. They want to support your businesses, but pulling on a locked door doesn't sell that vibe, right? They want to eat lunch at 3, 4 in the afternoon, before dinner starts. So understand those differences. Match them up with your desired goals your desired market, what you want this town to feel like. You don't have to be open 24 hours, I'm not saying that. But really see them, my little silly graph, mix those lines, right? Bring in there what is all of this and meld them together in the picture of your beautiful place. Identify that, talk amongst yourselves, drop your battles, build what is our brand, and then represent that to the world accurately, consistently, in your messages, in your images, and everything. That's me and a friend of mine, Kirk. He's the IBIS demo driver in the U.S. And I just thought it was funny. That's an Ollie Warden. And it's like, just to show, those are 50-year-old grown-ups. It's not all green trails. We like riding stuff like that. It's fun, right? We're not looking to hurt ourselves. We're not going to hurt ourselves. So don't think it has to be all dumbed down. That takes the fun out of it, right? It's fun to embrace the place. That's Rarick in Utah. Big, vast sheets of slick rock. It's fun, because not everybody has to go off that. You see people over there, they go around on the flat and jump off and do whatever, but that's the point, entertainment. So you intentionally design that experience, you bring your place together with your people that you want to invite, with the vibe you want to create, with the pieces of this puzzle that you all see and identify. Not for me to tell you, it's for you to see. And you meld those together, and you bring them into this product, this Collie mountain biking, and share this place with them. I think we've covered most all his points, so it's kind of reiterating the same, which you understand. The last ones were saying, I don't think anybody in this world is seeking more consumption of fossil fuels or more cars on the road. Think about that as you're building this up. It would be great if you can let people come into this town, park a car, and not drive it for 5 days. Shuttle them, move them around, let them ride from town and back. Nothing better than a day where you do that, you eat breakfast even if it's at 10 a.m. and then you pedal out and you spend all day on the trail and you pedal right back into town and right to your hotel, or better yet, you stop right at the pub and you're hungry now and you eat some food and you drink a beer and that's the experience that these people want. That's what they'll do. So embrace that. I've said I'm not supporting any more projects with bitumen parking lots for fossil fuel cars. It's 2019, the world's on fire. We should all notice this, right? It's time to wake up a little bit. So design your picture, design your audience. You can sneak in my e-bike statement right there. It is not true that we want more butts on bikes. I heard that at a conference, and that guy was actually a federal legislator and I don't think he likes me because I said he was before me and then I was next, and I said that's absolutely not true. We're not just trying to overpopulate the earth. We are not trying to just put more people out there. And e-bikes is being sold as a mechanism to get everybody out there. E-bikes are great. They should replace your automobile. But we don't just need everybody out there. That's my statement about that. We're not just trying to crowd these trails. Directional travel on trails, I'm a big fan of that. Same reason. They will seem less crowded if everybody's moving the same direction. You won't run head on into your kids, which is nice. So remember that racing is different than tourism. They'll happen, they're fine. I put on races, but understand that a racer is doing a different thing than loving your place and appreciating your place, right? So understand that difference. Events can be a lie. They often say, we're going to bring 50,000 people into your town. And those people drive up from Perth, fill your town with cars, because they all drove alone, because mountain bikers do that, because they don't like to drive another car, because they keep their shoes in the back seat and they don't want to move. So, it's really true, it's sad. So they come, they race, they go home. They drink the beer they brought up in an esky. It's like, that's not really what we're talking about here. That's not our target. So see those little pieces. It's details, but the devil's in the details. It's your party. You can invite whoever you want to. You don't need everyone. You want a specific, beautiful audience to come here for a specific, beautiful experience. You have the chance, a beautiful chance to design that in the right order, right? I did Fruita, like I said, illegally, and then begged permission later, and then worked back, and then got the city to try to be a part of it, and kind of did it all backwards from what you guys are doing. Cheers to that. It's really beautiful. You've got this forward and moving well. So there you go. See them, understand them. It's about the place. That's Fruita Colorado. That's where I live. That's the Colorado River, same river that goes in the Grand Canyon. It's about doing other things too. If you're in Fruita for 3 or 4 days and it's not cold, I'm going to make you go on the river. If you're there for 5 days, I'm going to make you climb a rock. There's other things to do. It's more than just riding. And you're in a place with a lot of beautiful things to do. That will keep people in your town longer. As they stay, economic support from them goes up exponentially. You know, if you don't get that, they come for the day. They buy a coffee in the morning and a beer after the ride and they leave, right? If they come for the night, there's dinner, there's a hotel room, there's breakfast the next day. They stay for 2 days, then there's lunch, beer again, dinner again, right? It just keeps going. So keep them here for longer is the key. Yeah, economics require actualities. I think y'all get this. Point is, you can't say you're going to earn all these dollars per day if no business is open, right? You can't get these economic generations if I can't hire a bike, if I can't get my bike fixed, if I can't buy lunch after 2 o'clock, right? So it requires that the pieces are actually in place. And that you don't, ignore those pieces. I know you all need that. Best experiences in the world, Mount Bola, after I've taken the piss out of them for not having a pub that's open, they also have the best downhill piece of trail that possibly I've ever ridden in my life at the end of the epic ride. And what they did there, I do like to jump, and I preached against the pungy stick gap jumps. But what they've done is integrated into that a trail that you can trust. You don't have to leave the wheels off the ground, but the opportunity to do so is endless and beautiful. And they just really designed it in there to where this berm goes to this berm, and you might not notice. The person that doesn't jump wouldn't notice. The person that does realizes that you can use that as a double and continue through. Beautifully designed trail. You never forget it. Derby, beautiful. I swear Derby upped the game of World Trail because they demanded that they were built to this standard. They really did what we're talking about. And they said they have to be as good as named all the other places in the world. And they really got that product. Cody Brennan, David Davis, I explained that. Trails that really understand their user. Fruita, that's my place. We don't have a single shuttle ride in the whole place. And we see $50 million a year of economic revenues from adults that haven't blown out the town. Still feels the same. I swear I wish it had more restaurants than it does, but it's still the same little town. Still has horses walking down the street on the weekend, whatever. It's like, it's a real place. And it just now also has a rec center and is not broke and working. So that's really what you want. Whistler's beautiful. I took whatever about them, but like I said, it's a great example in that you ride for as long as you want and you end up right back at my front door. That's what you want. Right back at the pub, right back here at Collie, not parked out there somewhere. If they have to go out there, shuttle them out there or let them ride out there, but keep them in your town. That makes it work. Right? New Zealand just nails it. That's why I never get to go talk about this there. But my friend there that's in Bikes New Zealand says, you got to buy your own plane ticket here. I'm like, all right. Well, one of these days. There you go. Ways to make it not work. No shuttles. I got to drive everywhere. If you don't understand that, let me explain it. A shuttle. I can show up out of my hotel room, coffee in hand, get loaded up, driven out to somewhere, and pedal my way back to town. That's a great opportunity. Shuttles work for that. If not, I got to get one of you. Hey, you got a car? Yeah, I got a car. So now we got 2 cars. We're going to drive 2 cars and park one at the bottom of where we're going. And then we drive a car up to the top of where we're going. And then we ride down to the other car. Drive the other car back up to the top and drive 2 cars back down to the Collie, you would hope. Or at that point, they're tired of this experience of driving around all day and they just go home. Who knows? It's a bad thing. Provide that service. Don't make them drive around, right? No chicks. Mountain biking struggles to have women. Events are often 90% male. Fruita gets 68% male, I think, which is cutting edge in the sport of mountain biking. That's a lot of female participation. People love to suggest women don't ride just because, I don't know what they're suggesting. They're not as fit. They're not as whatever. It's not true. I know so many women that ride way better than me. The reason you lose women is because you cling to the aggro, ego-based idea of men showing how tough they are and how weak you are, right? That pungy stick jump. Like, that's where we lose that. Women aren't into that, right? Am I right? It's not cool. We think it's so cool. It's not that cool. We could drop it. We'd be cooler men. Like, let that go, right? Like, don't do that, right? Keep the place less about proving how tough you are and more about being in the land and being together and meeting new friends and hanging out at the pub and being alive, right? Being a human. So think of that. Trails, too awesome. Jackson Hole, Wyoming built a destination with big jumps. Nobody came. They're now rebuilding those trails because nobody came. It just was too much. Nobody wanted to do it, or the 10 people that wanted to do it weren't enough to sustain the project, right? It was like, they overshot that. Same old also doesn't work. You want to be interesting and beautiful and dispose your place. We talked about cars, talked about business hours. Look at this, we're so far ahead. That's my town, Fruita Colorado. My business is called Over the Edge because that's the world I live in. You tend to find yourself on the edge of things a lot. You've got your edge. When you show me a picture of Collie trails, I want to show the vibe of what you've got, right? Like, what is this place? The truth. Not good enough, we know that. Just good enough isn't good enough. Understand that. See your people. That my whole idea of see it, say it, and then send it is conveying this. Take the time to explore your vision. Get together. Have little discussions. We don't call them arguments, we call them discussions. But have them, right? Talk to each other, define this. Get through your questions, answer them. And then you can unite and you can say, this is what a Collie trail looks like. Then when you have a contractor coming in here to build said trail, you've got it defined. You can say, this is what this is what this is about, this is what we're about. When you go into your branding, you can say, this is what we're about. Your picture is clear, it's concise, it's consistent, it's honest. Say it clearly. You've got to be able to say it. It's not an easy little step. That's often the hardest part. You have such an advantage because you've got a plan, you've got pieces in place, you're ready to move. So hold on to that. Consistent vision in your marketing, you understand that. Good enough is not good enough, you understand that. Establish the way you want your town to feel, and do it through not arguing, do it through beautifully designing a forward that everybody can unite. My idea of magnets, you can use them to push things around, they're very ineffective. You can use them to pull things, and they work really good. So get excited, pull it. Honor your people, honor your place, empower your champions. There's people like John Wallace who have driven this for a while and made people like me come here for almost a decade now. Thank you. Like, there's drivers. Honor that. Get together. There's probably a lot more of you that I don't know that are drivers. Yeah, awesome. Get together. Support each other. It's a community effort. So, yeah, I've already harped on fossil fuels. There you go. That's just the idea. That's a Dale Carnegie approach to sales. Get them interested. Get them to want to come here. They see that picture, that video, whatever they saw, they want to come here. Once they come here is your chance to establish a long-term relationship with those people. Don't bullshit them. Get them here, love them, make them your friends. They will become your marketing force. That's when you know you've completed the circle, is when they post it on social media, go home and heckle their friends. You totally should have gone to Collie. It was so good. And they're building trails so fast, we gotta go back. That's what you want being said. All right. Your experience is the thing. My experience, I came here, I was excited to see what I would find. I had the chance to come here, find out that it's awesome. I want to come back as all this happens and have this experience where you just make it this whirlwind of, yeah, we've thought of all this, we've got the pieces in place, we're ready to host you. You're my friend, come to my town, let me dazzle you, let me make you a fan. That's the point right there. Make me talk about it, tell my friends. That's the demographics of Fruita on the top line. That's our stats. It's adults. They spend a boatload of money and come back and tell the whole world. They come up to me and thank me for building this place that changed their lives. And I'm like, I don't even get that. But yeah, I do, because they come out of a cubicle. They work in, Denver in a high rise, and they get to come out and be in the land and be in the place and they feel more alive, right? Like you're changing people's lives. Do that with your trails. Make them talk about you. I think all those points we've covered. We know what we're talking about, right? Everybody good? We said all that? I think we're about to the end. Ready versus wanting? I said that point, but it is the point of life. Really understand that you're building something. You're not being better than the neighboring town. You're not in a battle with the neighboring town. You're not in a battle with each other. See something beautiful here? It's really a beautiful opportunity. Unite around it. Get your common goals and move beautifully together. Support each other. It's the key. People will do the same. I say in Over the Edge, my most basic statement about our business: love your people and let them love you back. That means I have the parts in an Over the Edge bike shop to fix your bike that you just broke. Not in 2 weeks, but right now while you get coffee. And then I'll get you back out there, right? Let them love you back. As you're fixing their bike and they're walking around your store, have a bunch of cool t-shirts that they might want to buy, right? It gives them the opportunity to love you back. Exactly. So it makes it work. Let them love your place, honor your people, honor each other. There you go. That will start your way forward. There you go. Those are just a bunch of silly little phrases. Doesn't matter. There you go. So those points. Actually, I skipped over those in dwelling up, and then they came up after and asked me to put those back up. So the next slide, I believe, is just me saying thank you. Yep. So if you want to go back 2 slides, you can leave that up there. You can all look at it if you want. You can move back and forth if you want, because those are just a little hit list of, and I skipped them, but people really liked them. It's kind of just a recap, but it's really the point. It's like you can really make people, they just want to come there, right? Like you see places that you haven't ridden yet. I often get to go to these places while they're fledgling little projects and starting, and then I often don't get to go back. Promise me you'll bring me back, please? Because I don't get to see them after it happens, right? It's like you want people to feel that way. Like, oh God, have you heard about this? I really want to go there, right? I hear what's going on. Have you seen those pictures? Right? That I don't have to love my bike through airports. Let me hire a bike. It's a great way to take some money off of me, and it's really easy to travel without a bike. It's really nice. But you don't want to rent a bike that's going to be a piece of junk, fall apart. Only a hardtail bike that doesn't even understand mountain biking. You want to really honor your people, provide them with that product. Yeah, love them, shuttle them, show them new places. People don't ride all day, and they don't ride every day. If you got other things to do, just going to get more time out of them, more love out of them, more dollars out of them. Yeah, so, yeah, maybe you're fans. That's awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I think I would like, if Pete, you want to say?
Yeah, just go. Yeah.
Pete's a whiz at this kind of stuff, and really, it's fun that he gets to sit there and listen to me yammer on, and then he'll have a great
And
thought.
boy, does he yammer on.
It's
Maybe just stand up a minute, just to get your bums sort of a bit
Oh, yeah.
going.
That's a good idea.
All right, that's good, that's enough. I'm not going to talk for too long, but I'm going to tell a couple of little stories, and I'm going to throw out some challenges, I think. Just a little bit about me and how I come to be here. I've done a lot of things. I'm a bit of an eclectic guy. Done a lot of stuff in the mountain biking area, but I've also ventured out and done a whole bunch of stuff in tourism-related activity, as well as other things. But I learn from those other things and bring it back to this story. I've done things like, well, I was mountain biking in South Australia for a long time. I had the opportunity to go and meet Troy in the States. I was actually the one that brought Imber out to Australia in the first instance many years ago. But I've owned adventure travel companies that did stuff across Australia, in China, in Europe, around the world, crazy things. I was a part of an economic think tank that worked with the International Olympic Committee, the Spanish government, and a whole bunch of mega events where we spent 4 years thinking about how do we leave a legacy after major events. So I've done all sorts of things, and I've seen all sorts of challenges. I spent 4 years traveling the world doing placemaking, helping communities to create place. You know, what is it that makes our place?
Nowadays, I have the great pleasure of working with Indigenous people up in East Arnhem Land, with young people working on trails and developing ideas and actually learning a lot about trails. Trails are not a new thing. These guys have been doing it for 60,000 years. It's called the song lines. They know how to welcome people to country. We've got to learn some of this stuff. When I go into Gumatj land, I know that it's Gumatj land because of the way the paintings are done, because of the language they speak, because of the bungle they do, the dance that they do. It's very different there to when I worked in the Pitjantjatjara lands. That place was a different place, still Indigenous, but it was different. But they still knew how to talk and communicate with one another, so that ripple effect was really important. One of the things that Troy talked about was he came into a town that was bankrupt and changing. And I suspect that there's probably some things in your community, not that you're bankrupt, but you are changing. I suspect that, you know, the mining activity and the economic activity in this town has a limited life, you know. I think it's 25 years, you said, John. In 25 years, the things that have been holding this town together for some time won't be here anymore. Troy was a bit lucky in that he came into the community when that had already happened, and so he could build it up. One of the challenges you're going to have is this transitional part. That, you know, you're wanting to create a place that attracts people, and they want to come back. Now, we had a little bit of walk around town, and don't take this as a criticism, because I think one of the things that you've done really well is planned with intention. But I want to challenge you to think about some of the other things that you may need to plan with intention. So you walk down that street and you see some empty shops. So I'm a tourist now that comes to this town, doing some mountain biking, enjoying some stuff, but I also see what looks like something other than the place that you want to create. I was the CEO of tourism in Central Australia, and when I went there to start that job, it wasn't long after planes started flying into Uluru. All the practitioners, the people that were creating tours and stuff in Alice Springs relied on that important place, Uluru. They had 90 buses coming into their town every day to take people to Uluru. And all of a sudden, the airline started taking people directly there, and people were waiting, saying, when are the buses coming? A year went past. When are the buses coming? And there was empty shops. Another year went past. When are the buses coming? When I got there, I had the pleasure of telling them, the buses aren't coming. They're not coming back. We need to look at this place in a different way. We need to understand what makes Alice Springs, Alice Springs. Yes, we have got Uluru on our doorstep, and yes, that's an important part of our marketing campaign, but the people aren't coming back to take buses to Uluru. So we took people into the streets and said, as a tourist, what do you see? What is it that you see that would repel you from here, or that would make you not come back? And the empty shops and the other things that were around, that were one of those things. So how do we do something about that? What do we need to do to change what people see when they come to the community? And there were some really simple solutions. Some of those Edward de Bono stuff. We filled those shops with the images of the things that we wanted to create in terms of the mountain biking. And I don't know whether people have seen what's happening in Alice Springs now around mountain biking. It's starting to become a really exciting place, and it's starting, those shops now that we created images in front of the shops, just really just blank the windows off, or encourage people to put up pop-up shops for short periods of time in the empty shops, giving Indigenous people an opportunity to have those shops to sell art or to put art up in, so they became an attractive place rather than a place that made them want to leave. So the transition planning, I think, is something you need to think about, and that's a collective impact. That's about thinking about who else is a part of this journey with you. Troy's talked a lot about the mountain bikers. It's not just about the mountain bikers, it's about the business people. It's about the kids in the school. It's about all the people that make that place and what they can offer and what they can get back from their place. So think about some ways that you might start to plan with intent for those things that may happen as the industry changes. Because if you don't think it will happen, you're fooling yourselves. So think about what you might do as a community to make this attractive for people to stay. The trails are part of that, but if you want them to stay several nights, they need other things and other parts of that collective impact. Think about those communities down the road and the things that they offer in that ripple effect. I can see they're saying, quick, we've got to stop now. It's all right. It's really important, like I said about Uluru and Alice Springs, Uluru became a different part of the marketing mix for the place now. We needed to see that place in a different light. We no longer had the buses, but we needed to use it and the opportunities it provided for Central Australia. When people think of the heart and soul of the centre, they think of Uluru. How do we use that in a constructive way to help build Alice Springs and other smaller communities around that place? What are the things that that place had that was unique to Alice Springs? So that's what I think you need to be doing. Now that you're starting to build the trail, what is the story of this place that makes it different to that place? What are the things that you can offer the tourist that comes here that they say, oh, I've never experienced this before. I haven't heard that story before. Because it isn't. Trails are about storytelling. It's about telling the story of your place. Yeah? Thinking about the groups of people that have to work on those things and how they work together is really important. I call that governance, and there's a whole bunch of things that you need to do, and there's different roles and responsibility within that governance. It needs to work together as a collective impact, not in silos. People will have different roles, and people will get different things out of creating this place, but it is all your place. How do you work together to ensure that you tell a story about this place that no other place can tell? That's the trick to have people coming back. I'm going to shut up there and let some questions answered. I think that's probably a good thing.
Yeah, stay up here though. We'll just invite Rod and Troy up and have a bit of a seat.
Seat.
Awesome.
Or stand around or whatever it is.
Standing up.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Because we advertise this as a bit of a Q&A, and now is the time to sort of put them on the spot, ask them the difficult question, and don't hold back. It's just
Yeah, do it.
Yeah. So
Feel like we're ready for something.
And remember those silly questions? They're always the best questions.
Have you had a chance to talk to anyone about the state trail strategy that was originally sort of kicked this off a number of years ago, culminated here? Do you think that sort of fits in the vision, or that counterproductive, that Collie trying to create its own identity instead of bringing people here?
No, it's huge. It's a huge success piece because it's what we didn't have in Fruita, and it's why I have so much gray hair. Because trying to backfill that is exhausting. And it's like the reason that this is so ready to happen now is that as other people became interested and there was some funds of interest, there was the funds, as far as I understand it, the money that is available to do this with came out of a fund to help generate something. And then they said, anybody got any ideas? And that decade-old process of building this was able to be like, yes, here's an idea. And then they had, I don't know if they got other ideas, right? But they got one that they liked, and they were able to go, all right, let's do this. So it really shortcutted a lot of things that I fought battles for years later, because all of a sudden that plan was huge to be able to say, yes, here's an idea. And they said, okay, and now you've got money by which to accomplish this.
But don't think that the plan stops there.
Yeah, that's right.
Use the thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's a really important tool.
Yeah, it's not confining. It's just just got you this far, right?
I think the question
Set
was
the
around
stage.
whether it should be branded Collie or whether it should be branded Stack. Is that not the question? Is it branded
Yeah,
Collie, or
like
the
not-
whole thing or just a town
To
thing?
have the
And I
ability
guess-
to take control and sort of make our own.
Yeah, no, you need, your brand has to come out of Collie. Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I was saying, you guys got to get together and be able to say what that is.
There is a dynamic tension there though. Don't brand Collie needs brand Perth, needs brand Western Australia. Think about that hierarchy and how you can use that hierarchy. It's really, really important. You won't do it just by yourself, but you have to. This place needs to be its own place, and its branding needs to talk to that place. And branding's not just about a logo. Branding's about the way this place feels when you come here. It's about the persona of this place. And you know, there's a really simple little mapping exercise you can do is to sit down and say, if Collie was a person, what would their persona look like? What magazines would they read? What sort of bike would they ride? Where would they travel to? Understand the persona of this place based on the person that you want to attract is really, really important.
I suppose if we just compare Margaret River, I mean, they've got their own international brand, and that doesn't take away from the WA brand, it just adds to it.
Totally.
Same company.
And look at how that can work for you as well. You know, that can actually give you a kickstart. Look around and think about those brands. Those places have already got a head start on you. I guarantee there's people that come to Margaret River because of the wineries and the wine or the surfing, but actually will also like mountain biking or have friends that like mountain biking. Think about those relationships, you know. That interconnectedness is really, really important. The same as the interconnectedness with plans is really important.
Troy, my name's Gary, I'm also a local councillor, but it was interesting you made the comment about having consultation and making sure the trails that are built are the trails that we want built. But I know that Leon, I also chair the Trails Committee. Leon from Department of Parks and Wildlife, is that right? Well, whatever, the 45 letters behind this, move on. They've already got a plan for certain areas that we've had no consultation with, and that's because it's already been designed, planned, ready to go. That's one of the first areas that's going to be developed. So how do we get an opportunity to have some input when it's already been developed, ready to be, because the plans are ready to go? How do we put our footprint onto that, or our filter?
I think the answer, that's a big question, right? But the answer that pops in that I can say with some honest answer is work on what defines Collie mountain bike experience. Understand that picture of what audience are we after, what are these trails, what's the goal here, what do they like, what's the feel? And I would say, you know, and put that in there, because the disconnect I'm talking about is even if you and Leon are on the exact same page with that, they often go out to bid, or whoever's going to actually dig in the earth wasn't part of those conversations. And so you've got to be able to say that, wander around that vision, be able to see it, then write it down, be able to say it, so that you can then hand that to the contractor that's going to build X trail and say, this is what a Collie mountain bike experience looks like in Collie, right? So that's a good, and a mountain bike club can be really huge in that. That's your body of those that can help fill in what that means, right? Talk about that and say what that is. And I think it's really worth writing that down, because that disconnect, I'm seeing it all over the world, and it's amazing all the time we'll spend in these processes. And then the job gets awarded to the lowest bidder, which I hate, and they may never talk to anyone ever again about what they're actually doing. Like, they just go do what they know best, and that's not what you don't want to lose that, right?
I just want to answer that one, because I think it's two things. One is probably looking at the trials we built, a lot of them were built legally, so the site of the trials, it's a similar process overall. We worked with sales down by public using large trials to get the design and the
think that's a really, really important point. I'm not suggesting it's a loaded question from you, but often we get loaded questions like that. Who are we building these trails for is a really, really important question.
Think about how they started. Well, it's like a core group without them,
Totally.
nothing.
Totally. I totally get that. Totally get that.
So just around that location, where's this project targeted at? So back to your question as well around, we had a state strategy which had a public consultation process. We had a Southwest mountain bike master plan which had a long public consultation process. And that intentionally identified the gaps in the market and then identified the areas that were going to give the best experience to bring people to those places, and identified 5 locations in the southwest, Collie, Margaret River, Pemberton as national level centres, and then identified Dunsborough and Nana as the other 2. So those 5 locations, and then with each of those locations, it identified by looking at the landscape and looking at the town and how it could connect, what the best locations were that were going to provide the sort of experience that Troy talked about. And the locations for Collie that were identified were Australia and Wellington National Park as being having the landscape and the connectivity to provide an experience that was going to make people come back or go away and tell their friends, this is really awesome. So that's how it's kind of not being this, oh, we went away and cooked up something and decided it's going to be here and here. It's kind of been this long process to get to this point, that then the government said we need shovel-ready projects. Here's one, we're ready to go, let's go tomorrow. It's not then about starting another conversation about where it should be or why it should be here and not here. It's about what sort of trails and what sort of personality we want to put into those trails and who we want to build them exactly for, so that we know it's this guy or is it the 21-year-old guy who's going to eat ramen noodles off the back of his car. Now it's about defining who that audience is that we want and what sort of trails and all the language we want around it. And the sort of thing I think is when we're designing the name of the trail and what the logo for that trail looks like or the marker, we ought to be thinking about how that's going to look on a t-shirt or a hat. If I'm going to come and ride this trail, I want to buy the t-shirt or the hat to take home with me and show my mates how to ride this trail. This is awesome.
Well, sorry, I appreciate everything you're saying, but my question is, there's a state strategy that's being developed, but since that time, there is, and you keep saying find your own niche. Collie is unique to the world with regards to 3 open-cut mines that have been transformed into lakes to a certain extent. Black Diamond, which is to the west, you've got Stockton Lake, which is to the east, and also Lake Capawari, which is being developed as we speak. The plans that you've got don't acknowledge Capawari or Stockton, which are unique to the world. You're saying find a niche. No one else in the world can you ride around an open-cut mine with unique coloured water. So there's an opportunity, but there's no trails that go to the east yet. We have spoken about this. The long-term plan. But what I'm saying is we want to capture and get people to come back. The plans have been developed all to the west, which I acknowledge. But since that time, there is a lake and that is being developed, hopefully it'll be open by the end of this year, which then people have to come through this town and they have to go back through this town when they leave. So there's an opportunity of capturing them twice, that's all. So the question I'm putting is, yep, we've got a strategy and I appreciate that, but is there a potential for it to be dynamic so we can maybe develop a trail to the east, which then gets people out there and get people to come back through? And I've been saying that for some time.
Just Eric,
Yeah, I'll just answer. I'll answer 2 points. So mountain bikers want to come here to mountain bike. Yes, the lake is lovely. When they experience Westralia and Wellington National Park, incredible scenery, incredible stuff that you can ride through as far as the topography and whatnot goes, the dirt that's there, or the gravel. A lot of clay and sand out that way, it's not fun to ride. So that's probably my key answer for that. Definitely in the future, we've talked about this in the trail meeting, the trails community, that yes, down the track, build a trail that way. In answer to your community consultation and that sort of stuff, just to put people's minds at ease, when I've got photos going back, I don't know, 8, 9, 7 years, however far it is, cleared out all the bikes in my shop, we all sat down, we talked about trails and Collie. And one of the things we said back then was we want to build trails that we can market, that are sustainable, that are good for Collie, for tourism, all that sort of stuff. It's not about kicking in trails just for the locals. And that's very much where the Collie Mountain Bike Club has been. And since that day has worked very hard with Leon and Parks in particular to make trails that are for Collie. They're not for me to specifically ride, they're not for John Wallace to ride there. You know, stuff that's going to be sustainable and marketable and beneficial for the Collie community. So that's where the Collie Mountain Bike Club is definitely as well.
I'll just add to that. I think it was about 10 years ago we looked at the map and east of Collie there's a lot of DRA, disease risk areas, and immediately we said, okay, we're not really going to go over there. That's taking all these pickings. So that's one of the major reasons why we haven't gone east of Collie. As far as the plans for what we have now, a lot of them were developed several years before the trials panel, we call the trials panel when that started. But that's probably so we should go through those and rehash over those so that everyone's an update.
Yeah,
And just to make those public.
If a trail there is, whatever, the first thing we've got to do is say, who do we want here? Or what experience do we want them to have? And then build those trails to match that. And if that's go to Lake Warwick, and that matches what the vision is, well then fine. But we've got to think about how that fits with what that vision is. And
yeah. Mike chime in is build them all. Not one or the other. Like you want Collie to be noted as a mountain bike town? Yeah. It's not that or this. This is here and planned and got funding. Like get the other stuff in process, sure, and then have them both. Like yeah, get it all going. Like go all directions, loop the whole town.
You know, I was just what he said about Colorado. He said, "Oh, go mountain bikes in," and then once I had an update on Rarick and River, there's a perfect opportunity now. We've got the mountain bikers in town. We've got some beautiful lakes out there, Clayton Steve.
Yeah.
Give them another opportunity, take this building, give them some all sorts of activities out there.
Yeah.
They don't have to go mountain biking. It's another great opportunity to take them out there, take out camp and bring back into the park. You know, got that opportunity.
That's not business.
Sorry, that's that feeling of love and building on that story. How do you guys build on that story? And there's so many competing interests and bringing all those competing interests together. You can talk about it, but there are competing interests there. How do you bring them all together?
Yeah, that's my principle of magnets. I didn't belabor, but really, like they are together, right? It's like it's the truth of get your businesses together, get awareness here of it's not just mountain biking. There's these lakes, right? We've got opportunities to do that. There's the river. We've got other things. Like get they call it frontline training, like to where the person that's checking you into your motel can say, have you done this? You know, did you know about this too? Did you know you can ride a mountain bike here? Did you know you can go here? Like, get it to where it's a team alliance of being able to say, here's these other things, right? Then they're going to need, if we're going to go ride and go to the lake and go to the river, we're going to need to stay for 5 days now. So that's your win there.
So I talk a lot about, we work in this structure now called collective impact. And what that recognizes, and it comes from the social services area, but it's working more and more and more in the tourism space. It is recognising that there are competing interests and that not all those interests are going to be fulfilled in the first instance. The collective impact model says you've got to bring those people together and there's a process, but you go through a process and you start to talk about what does success look like for us? What are the KPIs of that? How do we measure that? And you agree on those things together. And it won't encompass everybody's stuff in the first instance. It can't. But you start somewhere, you agree on some stuff, and then you build. It's a planning process. You build on that planning process. as those success indicators start to work and things start to generate in the community, you keep revisiting that. And it's an ongoing thing, you know, and it's an important, you know, ongoing thing because the millennials are coming. You know, I'm 60, he's 56 or something. You know, you're talking about a time frame in this community. You don't want this thing just to be for 5 years. You know, the mine shots in, what, 25 years, I think you said, and if that's the major economic impactor, you know, this is a long-term strategy you're developing here now. And those millennials do things in a different way. They do the place. They come once, and if they come back next time it's the same, they're gone. So it's an ongoing. How do we continue to make this an adventure travel destination? Mountain biking might be the start of it. Skiing on the lake might be the next component. And you start to build that. And you start to agree on what does success look like for this community. And that'll change over time. If it doesn't, you're going to lose it. That's a fact. You've got to continue to build a strategy that is about this place. And that's got to start somewhere. And you're really lucky. You're starting with mountain biking, and that's a really, really great thing. There's going to be plenty of opportunities as you build this construct. But if you don't start to agree on that collectively and identify those indicators of success, what will happen, and I've seen it many times around the world, is conflict will start to come in and you'll start to fight each other. And then no one gets anywhere.
Yeah.
That's not good for a community.
Been there.
Yeah, we have. We've seen it. We've seen it time and time again. So it's about how you continue to maintain that collectively. And it is a collective impact. If you don't recognise there's competing interests, you're doomed. That's the dynamic of business. It's the whole fundamental principle of business. Is dynamic tension, collective, the dynamic tension of competing interests. If we didn't have competing interests, capitalism would survive. That's a fact. How do you make it work for you? Then you start to work together and agree on some stuff. Doesn't mean you're going to agree on everything, but start somewhere and develop that framework and know how you're going to measure it.
Any comment?
Well, guys, when you bring change like this into a town, do you have any other tips for maintaining and creating urgency to get it over the line?
I feel like communication anchors in resolving the difference of views, the misunderstandings. I love the thought of going back to where you last agreed, right? Could we agree that we would rather see storefronts occupied than not, right? Could we go back to that, right? And then start forward from where you last could agree, right? And then you get into these things, well, I think we should have a machine gun range, you know? I think we think we should have ammo girls, like whatever. It's like, okay, but you know, that's fine, that there's different answers, and then you're not saying it can't happen, you're just saying this one's got traction now, we're going this way for now, right? Like, it doesn't have to be us against each other. It's like, go back to the commons. People believe in supporting human life and people getting out of doors, millennials and all of us getting off of our screens. I love not having a cell phone in my pocket. It feels really good. Like, you know, that's what we can agree on those things. I had an argument in South Australia where a guy was really opposed to all the mountain biking project and couldn't see a way to benefit him. He was a sheep farmer. I tried creative angles. He didn't bite on any of them. He was not down with this. And at the end of a meeting like this in question and answer, he started in on me again. And I finally said, maybe if this happens, your granddaughter won't move away the day she graduates from high school. And it turned the guy. He turned on to become a supporter at that moment. It was cool. There is a common in this, right? There's a common, and then find that. It's easy. I love to say people that don't create, wait.
And I think
look for something to criticize later. Like, you got to get in here now.
I think the sense of urgency that comes out of this now, and one of the things, the dynamic between us is really interesting because I'm the planner guy. Troy comes and talks about all the wonderful things that he does. You know, I did Melrose, I did Derby, I did this, I did that, which is great, and he does do that. There's no doubt about it. So Melrose as an example, and you know, Alice Springs is another one, but let's use Melrose. The planning started like it did here many, many years before Troy even came to Australia, you know. But because it got to the point, and the tipping point for that one was we'd been redeveloping a long distance trail, much the same as you were doing with the Mundabiddi Trail. We identified the fact that it needed hubs and it needed activity along that trail to make that long distance trail a success. And we were looking for a driver. Where's the urgency here? We're not getting anything happening. You know, the planning keeps going. The years pass by, and it was years. It went for years and years and years. And all of a sudden, there was this thing called National Year of the Outback. And for me, that was it. Okay, I went to the state government and said, we're bringing thousands of cycling tourists to South Australia in 2002 because it's going to be an outback bonanza. So we found that sense of urgency. And as soon as the money came and we started building stuff, this is when this guy came in, the urgency actually started to roll by itself. Because a lot of the planning, the principles, all that really important stuff had happened. You guys have done that really, really well. I've looked at your state plan. I've looked at your master plan. It is exemplary. But now the urgency does start because these guys have found some money. The rubber hits the road right now. You will see...
There is no problem with urgency.
No, it is going to happen. And
there is no problem with urgency.
it is now in a political cycle.
If you do not deliver this, you are in deep.
That's true.
So I think that question isn't around the community's urgency, because the project will happen, that will happen. Is it around the businesses getting on board? Is that more what you're asking?
It's holistic, really. I mean, it's a lot of talk. The rubber's ready to hit the ground now. It's going to change. The urgency is actually landing. You know, we're still, that point is still in the future. So
Because that's where I
hopefully
see,
by a matter of weeks, you know, rather than years.
as a community, we've got a project, it will happen, the stars will get built. I want to see the businesses get on board.
Well, you know-
I don't know if they're quite seeing the vision
Yeah.
of what this could be.
That's really important. I do a lot of work with Indigenous people in Arnhem Land, and we have meetings like this, and the Indigenous people never come to a meeting like this and they say, why aren't they here? They're always complaining they're doing this and doing that. And I say, well, actually, Indigenous people don't meet like this. They actually meet another way. Perhaps we should go and meet with them out there and sit down with them. Good business people are in their business because they're bloody busy. It's highly unlikely that they're going to come to meetings like this. There are some people that, you know, that are really involved and interested, and I'm not saying they're not busy, but they're the really passionate ones. I just did a project in Yakandanda Beechworth where they're developing an epic trail from Beechworth to Yakandanda. Same thing, they said, oh, bloody hell, the business people don't come. The business people don't come to these meetings. And I said, well, tell me the most difficult business people that you're talking about, and I'm going to go and visit them.
No, they're coming.
Yeah, I know. But
They are, but I'm not sure they quite see what it can be yet.
yeah.
What
Absolutely.
they should be doing to capitalise on this opportunity that we have.
So there's three sorts of people. There's the visionary, and I reckon we're probably those, you know. I saw, and he sees, things from a long time before anybody sees this stuff. We see an idea and think, that's going to be a mountain bike town, that's going to be great. Then there's pioneers. They're the ones that come in behind, that do the planning, do the stuff, you know, get things moving. We become superfluous in that place because, you know, we were the ones, we don't do stuff, we just talk about it, you know. We see it, we talk about it. And then there's the settlers. And they're the people that come in and do stuff and make the money out of it. I mean, let's be frank. But we've got to recognise that there's different sorts of people in this process. I can guarantee once there's lots of stuff happening in this town around mountain biking, they'll get the vision. Just, they're different people. They operate from a different paradigm. And I'll never understand that paradigm. They frustrate the hell out of me too, sometimes. But I recognise they're important within the context of making this work successfully. So I've given up trying to understand.
Some of the kind of practical stuff we've got planned is a project website so that people can subscribe and get updates just on the project itself. So, and to be able to hopefully construct that in a way that business can be included. So if a new business doing interesting things might be kind of sitting in a government environment, we can't talk about that. We can say this business is doing this. But also the communication that gets planned as it rolls out, being very intentional about we need to reach these people, we need to reach these people, and that we need different ways of doing it. This is one way, presentation you can send people, video might be something else, going and knocking on their door and sitting down might be something else, getting someone who knows about this stuff and talking about how they can adapt might be another way. So there's a whole lot of stuff that we've got to do through the project, as well as build really awesome trails.
And nurturing people too in that. There was some...
I want to throw a cool thought in just from another town I've worked in. That a key thing they ran into is that there was people that had ideas for starting a business or something, but had no idea of the process, right? And so and the city was kind of sitting there going like, well, they should know, and it's like, but they don't, right? And so that connect can be really huge, like having helping them in that process of they don't even know where to start, right? Like, and look here now, there's some funding available, there's some encouraging opportunities here. Like it's so opening that door a little wider, maybe just making it easier for them to know where to start. There's forms they got to fill out, and stuff they got to do.
Where's the young woman that was doing the shuttle? Is she still here? Yeah. There. People, like that is really important. That business is being based on potential. But the important part of that is helping support her to do her business and recognise that potential. But also, in the tourism sector, it's a really complex process to get a product into the marketplace. It takes a while, 2-3 years. So at some point, she's going to be wanting to meet with wholesalers and talk about the opportunities that they want to put her little bit of product into a tourism product, which is going to benefit the community in the future. She's an important asset, and she's putting her money where her mouth is, and it's a tourism product that you're going to need in 3 years' time. So support her and find ways to support her. Yeah, I know, but you get what I'm saying. There's lots of bits to this pie, or this thing, that are really important. And things don't happen overnight. You've got some of the people have got to be supported into the future. That's really, really important. And they might be mountain bikers at all, but they're a really important part of the picture.
I think that's a really good way to wind it up.
Any other harder questions?
There is final questions, but we do want to, I was going to say, maybe we wanted more of you, maybe have another session.
Right. Yeah, bring me back. I'd love to come back.
If there is a couple of final questions,
Yeah, I just want to ask about the maintenance side. Once the track's actually been formed, the maintenance side, is there restrictions or issues?
In seconds. Yeah, it's actually in the plan, which is really beautiful. The key thing we say is it comes in this really, mountain bike trails are cutting edge trail design right now, all focused on how do we not have to go fix them all the time, right? So it's in the right execution of construction and design, and then there's actually, that's in the program, which is pretty cutting edge, that they put this into this, that there's already funding in place for that. There's great opportunities and examples, like we just did the Melrose Fat Tyre Festival in South Australia, and the beneficiary of the financial picture of that event goes to the club, because the trails are the product we're selling, and the club is maintenance of those, and so use events, make your events kick back into the club and those that are doing those things. So there's really cool tools emerging to conduct, good maintenance, because it is so important. You can't just build it once and then wonder what happened, right?
So there's money for two things in this project. One is to develop, for want of a better term, a sustainable business model for the trails themselves. So that's about thinking about what is the mix of things from working with clubs and volunteers, working by getting money from the users of the trails in some way, whether it's through people who build business on a trail and they pay lease rental or whatever for different things. Some of that comes back in. Might be through the camping fees they pay or through whatever other mechanisms. But as well as that money to develop that business model, which we intend to roll out at the same time as the trails, for this project there's actually 2 years worth of maintenance money for the first couple of years of operation, which is quite generous to do maintenance. So we've got as well as this business model we're going to create, which hopefully provides a sustainable start, which is kind of the first. Really. Hopefully we'll learn some things that we can tell others how
Yeah,
to do it.
Yeah. We
Des-
heard,
design-
at the
again-
conference, we heard of people that are offering a little, the visitors can join the club for some
We
small
guys
amount of
have
money.
bed tax.
That's raised huge amount of money. Bed tax on hotel rooms
And
raises money for projects such as this.
design with
Podcasts
intent.
and the locals, you know, it's creative ideas for sure.
Design with intent. Design for the minimum amount of maintenance. And also that the trails are going to reflect this place. You know, don't let some trail designer come in and use their technique. You know, there's plenty of examples where you go and I can tell you whose trail I'm riding. It doesn't matter where it is, because I know how they design trails and they do it here, there. That's not telling a story about the place. That's telling a story about the trail design.
But it's awesome that you guys turned up and we've used up a lot of your time. I'd like to thank these guys for coming over here and giving me input. Shire for hosting us. This is fantastic. What I'm really hopeful this project is something that we do together. That is not something that a government agency or whatever does to the town. It's something we all do together. That we're partners in, and that we all feel part of and deliver together. And I think there is that opportunity in that. One thing that really sticks with me that Troy said the first time I met him was I said, what should we do? Should we do this or this or this? And he said, choose beautiful. And it's kind of stuck with me. And I think that is a thing we should think of. Whatever it is that we choose to do, let's choose the most beautiful thing that we can do. And let's be able to live with that and share that with everyone else. Be proud of it. Yeah. So I'm sure we're all going to talk more about this and the opportunities that there are. And yeah, we're all really looking forward to it. It's going to be awesome.
Thanks for
Thanks,
coming.
guys. Thanks for
We will do that.